Willie D. Live.
Who do you think killed Pac?
I know everybody. There's so many conspiracies. Well, first of all, hip-hop killed Tupac. Hip-hop killed Chris, Big. Orlando, I think, shot him, my guess. Whoever was in the backseat. But he bragged about it, by the way, in real life. And I think,
Who bragged about it in real life?
Orlando Anderson.
Oh, Orlando, yeah.
And by the way, people, again, I'm not, there was a conspiracy to government or whatever, Suge or whatever. Out of Suge's own mouth, he told me when I did Who Shot Biggie and Tupac, when he looked across in the car, he knew the people in the car. I want to make sure people understand that. It's not the mafia, it's not the fucking government or a conspiracy. It was Crips and Bloods who had a prior relationship for many years. There was a string of incidents that led up to that. That wasn't just that one moment. When Tupac ran to go hit Orlando, he knew the guy, one of the guys who was with Tupac said, hey, that's the nigga that would knocked our chain, whatever. And Tupac, at that particular time, and I'm not, obviously I'm friends with Pac's friends and his family, whatever, Tupac was out of pocket for that. And he knows that, it cost him his life, unfortunately. I'm not saying nothing that nobody hasn't said. And he put himself in a gang situation that he had no business getting into because he's the prize. You're Tupac. You're the reason why everybody's here. You're making money. You're supposed to protect him. And Suge should have never let him do that. But Tupac did that on his own, by the way. I want to make sure people realize that Tupac ran up. You could see the video where Tupac runs up on him and hits him. And it's all related to a gang situation. Then they get in the car that night and they find him. And the ironic, I've done all these shows, some girls say, Tupac, Tupac. And that's why the guys heard him. They went first to the club to see if they were there. Mm-hmm. This was a gang situation.
702.
Yeah. And so, I think Orlando shot Tupac, and he obviously lost his life after that.
Yeah, it was well known that Orlando did it because my little cousin was 11 years old, and he lived, at the time, he was living in Compton. Mm-hmm. He was like, one of my buddies was like, man, who killed Tupac? He's like, man, Orlando Anderson killed baby. What do they call him?
Lane.
Baby Lane. Baby Lane. Baby Lane killed him. He lived right down the street.
Correct.
He say, wait a minute. He lived down the street and ain't nobody messing with him. Ain't nobody gonna mess with him. Everybody know Pac was a capper. This 11-year-old talking like So yeah, you're right. It was a string of incidents that happened before that, well before that ever even happened, and there was a lot of bad blood already.
Yeah, and he just got himself involved in something that he had no business getting himself involved in.
And here's the thing what people have to understand, because I know a lot of people, they like, man, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, in terms of making something out of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Tupac was revered worldwide, especially for a guy that came from nothing, rose to fame. When people see guys like him, you, me, do that, it gives them hope. Mm-hmm. So most people celebrate that. Most people are pulling for you because they see a little of themselves in you. Mm-hmm. Pac's problem, as you alluded to.
Yes, of course you did.
As you alluded to, Pac crossed the civilian line. Mm. If he had not crossed that civilian line, he would have been that Baby Lane would have, man, let me get a picture, let me get an autograph.
Correct.
But Pac, even though he was hanging out with these blood dudes, if Pac would have never been, behaving, like an actual gang member and actually putting in work, then I absolutely think that I would have no doubt that Pac would still be here today.
Correct, yeah. Because it's a sad story. No matter all the way around. And I think, to me, one of the stories that, and obviously I love Tupac. We come from the same background, mother and drugs and, Black Panthers and Oakland Liberty almost got the same birthday. And he's a guy that I think when you're young, you're trying to figure out your life. And I think that lack of a father played a big role in his life. And he was, you could ask his family. One of the stories I heard one time was that Suge took him to a basketball game. I think it was the Chicago Bulls, and they were sitting on the sideline, and Tupac says to him, this is what I always wanted, is my dad to take me to a basketball or take me to a game. Mm-hmm. So that's looking for a father figure and you clasp on the Suge and you put yourself in that situation, potentially, I can't speak for Pac, but I'm guessing that you were trying to prove how down you were and that here's my kind of big brother father figure. Look, I'm really down with y'all. Look, I'm going to put in work too. Mm-hmm. And so that's a part of it. I think it's not just let me hit somebody, but it was something deeper than that is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. In covering all of these stories about these unfortunate deaths of hip-hop icons, have you ever had the FBI come at you and ask you for information? Like ask you, did you know of any information or know this person or show you some pictures or something like that? Because they do that often. Like if somebody started talking about a murder or whatever, or an investigation, and here they come. They want to ask questions.
Yeah, one day I was walking out of my office at the Source. The Source used to be in Union Square in New York City. I would say this is 2000, 2001. And I think it was Ray Benzino and the Source were being investigated by the FBI. They came and raided the office. And they took a bunch of records and computers and stuff like that. And they were investigating incidents of violence and threatening with guns and situations with the Source. They were just all in the business. They called me up. They was like, hey, someone picked the phone. It was like, this is Frank Williams. I was like, yeah, this is the FBI, or whatever they said. We wanted, we're investigating such and such, and we'd like for you to come down to Boston and talk about whatever. And what had happened was there was situations where people had pulled guns on people or threatened to do things to people, and I happened to be there, and other people knew that I had saw that, even though I never came to them and say, I know, whatever. And so, yes, they did. I was forced to testify.
So you had to go to Boston. Did they pay for your trip?
Yes.
Was it first class?
I don't remember that. I don't know. I can't remember. But obviously, they paid for my trip, and they did. I was like, no, I don't want whatever. But they was like, well, no, you can't. You can't tell them no. There's no. But when I got there, they started asking me, were you here when Ray Benzino threatened such and such, or did you know that he said such and such was gonna get thrown off a roof, or I'm gonna kill you, or a gun was brandished, or were you such and such? I was like, damn, I don't remember that. When was that?
Dabba.
Oh, damn.
Dabba.
When was they say I was there? Or I can't. Man, we were partying so much, I can't recall that, sir. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hit that. I can't recall because that way, no matter what, they can't say you lied.
Right. And so
hey, I don't recall.
That was their word against mine that I was in the office. And I had actually been there, and I had actually seen some of the things that they said. They weren't lying.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Even to Dave, I told Dave. Dave Mays. Shout out to Dave. Even though he did some shit and he did some shit to me or whatever, I'm still gonna stick to the code and still not, because it's still them against us. Now, I'm still the Black Panther in my head. I'm Huey's grandson. But yeah, I did have to go testify for the FBI. And one time I was doing American Gangster. I did an episode about this guy, Felix Mitchell, who's a very famous drug dealer. A lot of people say New Jack City is based on Felix a little bit.
He was up on the East Coast, right?
No, in Oakland.
Was that Oakland?
Yeah, and he was one of the first guys to pioneer the lookouts on top of the roof. This is like 85. He was one of the first. If you look at New Jack City, there's lookouts and they tell, hey, what you doing? Like the 12, 13-year-old kids. And so I went to the FBI because they had been surveilling. I just had another friend, and I looked through some old articles, and I found a couple of FBI names, and I happened to call them and say, hey, whatever. And one of the guys happened to still be there. And I went there. They pulled out the box of evidence for Felix, and they had pictures of him surveilling him. They had pictures of people he had killed with the bullet in their head slumped over the thing. They had pictures of the kids, lookouts, the whole thing. They had all of the FBI records. So there's been times when they've called me and forced me. There's times when they've helped me. So, yes, I did, unfortunately, have to deal with that. And I know that I've been surveilled. I know that I'm writing about controversial shit and, conspiracies against the, Panthers and COINTELPRO. And I'm not writing about, like, what's Will Smith's protein shake. I'm writing about real shit. And so, just like Tupac, I'm sure they have a record of who I am and, or knowing what I was doing.